Mr Smelly here, and we are talking about brand new fragrances from 4,160 Tuesdays. Mr Smelly went to the Art and Olfaction Award last Saturday.
It was fun.
And
was
who
great.
did you meet?
I met Sarah McCartney of 4,160 Tuesdays.
And Sarah was kind enough to hand Dan over several decants or large samples of her latest releases. So I'm going to talk to you about 4 of them. I'm going to wear 4 and I'll come back to you all with my thoughts on them. I'm going to go with the one that me and Dan probably like the most out of our very first quick impressions at about 2:30 this morning, because I just got back in from a holiday in Fuerteventura. I'll be wearing White Queen. Ooh. We'll wear it quite generously to see how it goes. I'll do my wrists after I've put the phone down. But what do you think initially?
I really like it. I said it reminded me only a little bit of Virgin Island water, because it's got that coconut note in it, but it's also quite fresh. But what do you think?
I can see where you're coming from with it. It definitely smells coconutty, but I like more like a creamy, thick, milky coconut rather than a fresh suntan lotion coconut.
Yep.
It feels to me very rich, kind of like a gourmand that you might choose in cooler weather if you're a seasonal sprayer, but I'm not really anyway. But it smells sweet and interesting. Don't you think it's got a bit of depth?
It's definitely got depth, and I really like it from what I'm smelling so far, and I'm very interested to see how that one develops.
And this one I think reminds me a tiny bit of Maxed Out, which also has that coconut note, and you said you find it a little bit boozy as well. Which
I remember that last night, yeah.
And also in the dry down, when I smelled, we had some on paper and I re-sniffed it this morning, reminded me a little bit of Rome 63 from 4,160 Tuesdays as well. So kind of like white floral, coconutty, lactonic thing, crazy thing. It's a crazy thing, but we'll see how it goes. I'll come back to you with my thoughts on it later on. That's all for now. So now here's my final verdict on White Queen. There it is again. I wore this one yesterday during the day and then again after my shower. The reason I wore it after my shower is because it was still so strong on my wrist despite me using my puff and properly cleaning myself. I still had quite a strong scent of that on me. So I would say the performance of White Queen is outstanding. It is ridiculously, really good. So if that is a concern for you, then White Queen is definitely not going to let you down. What's more important is how it smells. So the notes will appear on the screen. Have a read. But I can't remember what all the notes are, and I've specifically, deliberately not looked them back up because I would rather tell you how it smells to me. I feel more honest that way, because sometimes you can struggle to describe a fragrance and it's very easy to just fall back on, oh yeah, I really smell the sandalwood or the Mysore sandalwood, because I can tell the difference between Mysore sandalwood and Indian sandalwood. I'm not that good, I'm afraid. But at least I'm honest. You can give me a gold star for that. So I have just refreshed on this arm here so that I can give you my impressions of the opening notes. This is definitely a very strong fragrance. It smells to me like a spiced coconut. A spiced coconut, almost like a coconut liqueur, but it's resting atop the wooden cabinet from where you keep all your alcohol bottles. And this wooden cabinet has been passed down through your family for years and years and years, generations. So what I'm trying to say is it's a wooden booze cabinet, for want of a better word, drinks cabinet, and it has absorbed the smells of all the fine cognacs and whiskies, brandies and liqueurs that have been stored in it for hundreds of years. So that's what I'm getting. Woods, alcohol, coconut, something a bit spicy. I'm not quite sure what that spiciness comes from. Sort of cinnamony, nutmeggy, I'm not quite sure. Very warming fragrance, this one. It's kind of like a warm embrace. I think this is my favourite. I'm pretty sure it is, but I haven't properly tested them all yet, so it's not fair to say that just yet. This one, when I was wearing it, it dried down. It kind of got really woody. So at the moment there's a real strong coconut liqueur thing going on, but it kind of got really woody. Woody and peppery and incensey, faceted, multi-layered. It changes on your skin. It doesn't get boring. It doesn't stay the same. I really love it. It makes me want a cocktail. Makes me want to go back to Spain and have a mojito and a pina colada. But I'm just greedy. The dry down, as I say, the dry down definitely gets woody and musky and almost like a cedar wood, a bit peppery. The coconut seems to sort of slow down and not be so obvious. And I don't think coconut is an official listed note, but myself and Dan both said that we get coconut from it. Dan also said he thought it was a little bit green in the opening. I'm not sure I exactly pick out green notes as such, but I'm imagining the coconut is a very young coconut, I feel like a green coconut that's not super ripe and very, very sweet. The sort of sweetness in this fragrance actually is not that sweet. There's a sweetness that comes from a coconut and a kind of a vanillic thing going on, but that does wear down and it does slowly become more subtle. So it's sweeter at the opening, and then as time goes by it's much more woody and musky and much less sweet. I understand there's white florals. I think there's jasmine in here, but they're not obvious to me. They may well be playing a part in making it smell a bit exotic, so it may well be that they're blending in with that lovely coconutty note. Just, it does feel exotic. And White Queen is obviously a very fairy tale evocative name. What it made me think of was the Narnia and the Lion and the Witch in the Wardrobe. When it gets into this really woody stage, it's kind of got this feeling of excitement and anticipation, like you've maybe just stepped into the wardrobe from your dull, normal, everyday life, and the door's about to open on fantasy land. So you just get the wafts of these crazy exotic flowers and maybe just life in a fantasy land where everything smells slightly abstract. Or think Alice in Wonderland, just a kind of fantasy, fairy tale feel overall to this fragrance. I'm picturing now Alice in Wonderland, though, with those little cakes that say eat me or don't eat me, and how wonderful they probably taste. I'm definitely feeling this has got that gourmand touch to it that does make you smell a little bit edible, which I love, but it's still balanced by that boozy drinks cabinet feel as well. It does what a gourmand fragrance should do to make me happy, and hopefully to make other people happy, is that it doesn't smell directly like a food or a drink or a sweet or a dessert, but it has that touch of a food or a dessert or a drink, like a cocktail. But it also has perfume aspects. It does smell like a perfume. You don't smell like a weirdo who smells exactly like a cheesecake. You just smell like something no one's ever smelled before. I think you can tell I like this one. Yeah, I like this one. So we'll leave that one there. So that's just my overall thought. Brief first impression. So this is my review of Truth, Beauty, Freedom, Love from 4160 Tuesdays. It's Eau de Parfum, and I've been wearing it all day long. I sprayed it at 9 AM and it's now 8:10, and it is still noticeable on my skin, so there's no problems there with longevity or projection. I've been getting a light projection sillage all day long, but how does it smell? Because that is the most important thing, isn't it? So I've just refreshed the spray here just to tell you about the opening. The opening, I get a powdery, dusty, apricot skin, or almost like a peach skin. So imagine sort of apricot, peachy kind of smell, a dried fruit smell rather than a freshly cut open apricot. Very much smells to me like a dried fruit, and a very warming, kind of musky, fuzzy, soft texture, if that makes sense. You can smell the violet coming through. I love violet. Violet's one of my favourite notes in perfumery. And something slightly lemon-like blending in with it all. So don't expect an actual smell of lemon that's really obvious to your nose. It just feels like there's something a bit like lemon cutting through the soft fuzzy muzziness of the dried apricot and blending in also with that lovely violet note. There's hay in there, and I can definitely picture hay when I smell the fragrance. Hay and the apricots, kind of, they're in that same ballpark, aren't they? That kind of warm, natural, comforting smell. So that's how the opening is. Then as it dries down, I find that the apricot note just gently, slowly backs away, making room for the violet. And then also with the violet, I get that really lovely, iconic makeup smell that people talk about when they talk about Dior Homme Parfum, Valentino Uomo. But to me, it's more reminiscent of the likes of Chanel Missia from the exclusive line. Is a more sweeter, sharper makeup smell rather than a really dusty, irisy smell, if that makes any sense. But very, very pretty, coming through and just kind of cutting through that fuzzy, musty, sort of dried fruit smell, if that makes any sense. Now, it sounds like those two things shouldn't meet, but they do, and they work really well together. And it also reminds me of, you know, the Guerlain meteorites, the little balls, the pearls of powder, kind of like that. So if any of that's familiar to you, we'll help you. But that comes through later on in the fragrance and is not obvious straight away. And then the far dry down, it's kind of lost the apricot altogether. And I've got this woodsy, musky, makeup violet smell, which is really, really nice. So, my overall verdict, in terms of the performance, is absolutely amazing. And I felt very confident. I smelled good all day long. There's nothing challenging here. The only thing that challenges me is that I'm not a big fan of that dried apricot note. I just generally, for some reason, don't get on with a lot of fruity notes in perfumes. I love citruses and freshy kind of fruits, but a dried fruit is a little bit more of a challenge for me. And this apricot, to my nose at least, does smell like a dried apricot. But as I said earlier, it does gently fade away to allow for this beautiful violet, irisy, rose kind of thing that comes out, and it's really, really nice. The dry down is lovely. I love the powdery, slightly sweetness of it all. So overall, if that sounds like it might be up your street, I think it's a really, really good fragrance. So I'm going to leave it there for that one. So that's just my brief overall first impressions of those two fragrances. And I'll be coming back to you in a separate video with 4160 Tuesdays, Scent Fusiasm, and Freeway. That's spelt with an F, Freeway, as in a motorway. I'll be doing those in a separate video so that the videos don't go on too long. So I'll catch you in the next one, and I hope you're able to join me.